Alright, guys, what's up? Alright, welcome to episode number one. And, perfect, perfect place for this. We are in Sydney, Australia, okay? You're probably wondering what's an American guy like myself with a fish on his hat doing in Australia? Well, I'm gonna tell you, okay? I'm here for, believe it or not, work, okay? And, it's a perfect place to start talking about what we do and what I do and how I made it to Sydney, Australia. Okay. I don't know if you'd believe it if I told you that I've got an associate's degree in liberal arts. Okay. I have created a life for myself where I'm making well over $100,000 a year. Okay. And it's proof that you don't need to have a master's and a doctorate. You don't have to go to Harvard, okay? You can be a small town guy like myself who loves the outdoors, doesn't need a lot, doesn't, pride himself in being the smartest man in the room, okay? What I do have, though, and what I think each and every one of you guys can have as well, is something that I like to call self belief, right? I'm not trying to get cheesy here, but what I'm trying to say is there is one person who's made a huge impact on my life. Obviously, there's many people, but not just one. But one, let's say one quote that's made a big impact on my life since I was young, very young. That quote is, "You can do anything you set your mind to." If you know who that said that, then you're a real one. No, I'm just kidding. I'll tell you. That was Eminem, right? Marshall Mathers, a boy from Detroit who wasn't like everybody else, who was, let's just say, he had all of it against him, right? No one thought he could make it in Detroit as a rapper. And with everything against him, he came out swinging and he believed in himself, right? More than anybody else. And he became the best rapper, arguably the best rapper to ever do it, okay? And all of that stems from you can do anything you set your mind to. This is the first episode of many. I'm looking forward to building this YouTube community because I think I can help you guys. I think I can help everybody, and if not, that's all right. You know what? I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not doing it for the growth. I'm doing it for the love of the game. I'm doing it because I enjoy helping others. I enjoy coaching. I enjoy sharing my experiences. Yeah, so I mean, let's get right into it. About me. That's what this one's gonna be. It's just gonna be about me. I'm gonna tell you guys where I came from, what I'm doing now, where I see my future. Right. So, came from a small town. Uh, my sister was the first person to go to college. I tried to follow in her steps, but she was a lot smarter than me. So she went to a really, really well-known four-year school. I couldn't make it into a four-year school. I did just well enough in high school to be able to make the football games, right? You had to have a certain, I think it was like a C plus or a B to be able to play in the game. I made it just enough to play in the game because that football was my life, right? Another thing that I would say arguably had a really big impact on me was football. We were taught to overcome adversity and from really, I mean, any kind of adversity. We'd be running up hills with boys on our back, or they'd be doing two-a-days in the summer, 90-degree heat, right? Like you can do it, right? And I learned that no matter what, even when things get hard, if you don't give up, you can do it. So football, I would say, had a really big impact on my life as well. But talking about football, so I came from a really small town, couldn't make it to a four-year school. I tried. I wanted to go for physical therapy. Couldn't make it. I was denied to all the four-year schools I applied to, and then I decided I'm gonna go to community college. For what? Health sciences, right? and the next step, I guess, health sciences. So I applied, started going to school, but I needed money, guys. Like I was hurting. I didn't have the support, I would say, from my family. I had support in a different way, but financially, yeah, my mom would throw me, $50, $100 here to help me out once a week or once every couple of weeks for like groceries and things like that. So she helped me out, but it wasn't enough to live the life that I wanted. Let's just say that. I was in a dorm room. I was taking loans out. I think, even today, I still have student loans that I'm trying to pay off. But what it came down to was I needed more money. I wanted to move out of the dorm, so I wanted to get a place of my own. With my girlfriend at the time, who's not my wife, my beautiful wife. We've been together for 15 years. Another very successful part of my life. I owe her a lot, and I think that she was a big part of my growth too. So thank you. But all right, so I wanted more. I wanted to move out. Wanted to get an apartment. Apartment I was looking at was $700 a month. So guys, listen. Let's just go back. I'm 34. So this was 15 years ago, right? Maybe a little more than 15, 16 years. Started out working landscaping. Saw a couple guys bringing an air conditioner in, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Let's talk to them. So I went over and talked to them. They're like, yeah, it's a cool trade. I was like, all right, well, I can make $20 an hour, maybe, So I reached out to a local HVAC company, and they got me in as an insulation technician. So I was blowing in cellulose insulation. Horrible job. I was, in attics with nails sticking out of the roof deck, right in my face as I was putting baffles in the eaves and pulling off fiberglass and sticking the baffles and stapling it to the roof deck to promote airflow. Not a glamorous job, a very hard job. Crawl spaces, applying 2-part spray foam. This is what I had to do to be able to get into HVAC. And I knew that if I started out at the bottom and if I acted like a sponge and I worked hard, that maybe I could do this. During this, I decided, you know what, I'm going to apply to the school that I'm going to. I'm going to change degrees, right? I'm going to go into HVAC because they have a tech degree. So I applied to the Applied Technology Center, and I got into this HVAC program. And I was taking part-time HVAC classes, 2 or 3 of them a week at night. So I'd work all day long at this company, and then I'd go right from work to school. I worked my butt off, right? And I was getting out of school at 10, 11 o'clock at night, going home, waking up at 5 a.m. to go to work at 7 a.m. again and do it all over. Sometimes I was going out of town and I was getting home till 2 in the morning, right? Moral of the story is, not to prolong that, but I did what I had to do to get into this. So eventually, once my company found out I was going to school for HVAC, they gave me the opportunity to get into the commercial HVAC department. Huge opportunity. I had 2 options, residential or commercial. I've always done my research, and I knew commercial was where the money was. At least that's what I thought. So meanwhile, just to paint a picture, I'm making $12 an hour blowing in insulation. I got moved into this commercial HVAC role, and I eventually worked my way up to making $14 an hour. No truck, no van. I was driving a flatbed truck around basically delivering commercial HVAC equipment, throwing up ductwork, a lot of cookie cutter ductwork. And I was good. I liked the company I worked for. It was a good company, but I needed more money. My rent was getting tight. I had a car payment. I was trying to, I wanted to move out of this little $700 a month apartment that wasn't very nice. It wasn't in a great area. So I found another opportunity for a supermarket refrigeration technician out of a town over. So it was about an hour away from me, but I applied and they offered me the role, and I went back to the company I was working for and I said, what do you think? They're giving me $17 an hour and a van. Can you match it? I want to stay here. Their response was, if we did it for you, we'd have to do it for everybody. So no, thanks, but no thanks. Good luck. And all right, so I took the job. This was a big stop, and I remember very clearly that taking this job was a very scary thing for me. I was sad, actually. I built a lot of really good relationships, and coming from a small town at the time, I didn't take relationships like this very lightly. I was like, these are my friends. These are people I've known for 4 years. I remember being pretty sad about it, and I ripped the Band-Aid off. I said, I got to do what I got to do to grow. So moved on, took this role for about a year and a half, and it was a good job, but I had the opportunity to work for it was a state job, right? It was a state pension. It was in a union, and it was basically repairing and operating boilers and chillers and all HVAC on the college campus. About 1.5 million square foot campus. We started out as an assistant HVAC engineer. It was civil service, so I had to pass the tests to move up. Went and took the tests, moved into a service engineer role, actually passed the supervisory engineer role. Did that for about 3.5 years also, and decided I wanted to learn more about what happens in the background. This was a giant risk. Again, it's all about taking these risks, guys. And if it's going to better you, take the risk. I know it's hard. Step out of that comfort zone. Take the risk. So this is what I did here. I took the risk. I took a job as a estimator for a wholesale distribution company for commercial HVAC product. Really great opportunity. I gave up a state pension for this, a really good retirement. I gave it up, and this was a little bit more money. This was my first big boy job. They had offered me $50,000 at first, and I came back and said, look, I know where I'm gonna be. At this point, at the college I was working at, I was making like $56,000 a year, I think. So I came back and I said, look, I know where I'm at. I know where I'm gonna be in 2 years. I'm gonna be pushing 64,000, at least 68,000 maybe. I need you to do better than 50,000. You give me 75 and I'll come over. Well, they said okay. Now look, guys, I'm just a young kid who's got a couple of years experience now in HVAC. Started out in landscaping a couple of years before, $12 an hour starting. So all within 4 years, I went from $12 an hour, well, 6 years, give or take, 7, I don't know, $12 an hour to now 50 or 62,000. And now I just took a job, right, with a wholesale distribution company for $75,000. Great job. This is where I had to put on my hat to say I'm just going to be a sponge, which always, the whole time you want to be a sponge. But this time I really put my hat on and I said, I'm going to try to learn everything I can about this. I'm going to listen, I'm going to understand, I'm going to hear them, and we're going to grow. So that's when I did that.